You are listening to Making It, the path to beauty industry greatness with Canvas Me, where we go behind the scenes to explore the human side of beauty professionals, learn how they found balance in their lives, overcame obstacles, and created communities that transcend the ordinary. Hosted by Canvas Me co-founders Jen and Matt Martinelli alongside Canvas Me directors April and Megan, Making It is your guide to navigating the ever-evolving world of beauty. Welcome to Making It, the path to beauty industry greatness with Canvas Me. I'm Jen Martinelli, and today Matt and I met with Jenny Strebe, a pioneering hair artist, industry figure, educator, author. You know her as Confessions of a Hairstylist on social platforms, and she has over 400,000 followers on Instagram alone, and she's founder of her own product line, Aiir Professional. Tune in as we talk small town girl with big town dreams, the courage to step into greatness, the challenges along the way, overcoming failure, and the healthy habits of success. Okay, hi everyone. We're here with Jenny Strebe, hairstylist, successful entrepreneur, author, and creator of her own hair care line, Aiir Professional. Hi Jenny, how are you?
Great. How are you guys? So excited to be here.
Yes, so exciting to have you here. We've been talking about you for so long because you're this female entrepreneur that has had a big dream, or did you, right? Like, I really want to get into your story. Where did you come from? Matt and I are huge on the journey. How did you get here? Did you know this was a possibility, right? Somebody that has been super successful in the hairstyling world, but then also created a cultivating following, right, on social. And now you are an owner of your own hair care line, which is incredible. So all that being said, do you feel that you've made it?
No, I have so much more stuff to do. And I think that's an important thing to say, because once we get into my journey, you guys will realize that, you know, the farther I go, the more confidence I've built to be able to make that stepping stone to the next adventure.
So true. It's so funny because like every time you have a goal, it's like you think that goal is so high, and once you achieve it, you just keep leveling up, which is awesome. So I've read about your story, and I want our listeners to hear because it's an incredible story. So tell us about where it all started. What was your journey of deciding to enroll in cosmetology school? Where did that all start?
Well, I definitely was that little girl that played with the Barbies. You know, I did all the haircuts and made them look crazy. But really when it hit home is when, this is a true story, I did like a little makeover on one of my schoolmates' hair. Like, she was kind of dorky. She got bullied, and I did a little makeover, and she felt so good. And I was like, ooh, I like this feeling. Like, she feels good about herself. And it just kind of went on from there. Then in high school, I was doing everyone's hair for prom. I was coloring my hair. I was definitely that girl growing up that just always was involved in making people and myself feel better through beauty. So after I graduated high school, I knew immediately that I was going to go into cosmetology school.
And I read your story. So you're from a small town. Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's called Walla Walla, Washington. It means many waters in Native American. There wasn't a whole lot of opportunity there growing up. Now it's like totally cool. It's like wine country now. But I wanted to get into the big city because I knew there was more for me to explore. And I really, really love challenges. So I packed up my bags and I moved myself to Portland, Oregon, enrolled in cosmetology school, got a studio apartment. And that's kind of when my cosmetology journey really began.
So what gave you that courage? I mean, you're how old? You're in your late teens, or like you're young?
Oh yeah. I was like, you don't ask a girl that question. I thought you were asking now.
No, at the time.
I was 17. Yeah.
So you're 17 years old, you pick up and go. Like, what made you I got to do this?
Well, you know, I feel like I've been hearing a lot of hairdressers be more open about this, but you know, back then, we'll go ahead and say, hair school wasn't a job that people thought was like a good job for people to have, or that you could amount to something or make money from. And so I always had that in the back of my head. No, screw that. I'm going to go ahead and like show my family, show my friends, and show anyone else that like you can make this into a solid career. So that was really the drive from the get-go, to be honest with you.
Amazing.
I like to prove people wrong.
Yes, I love that.
Well, and I love the fact that you came from such a small town, because we see that a lot. We work with beauty schools all over the country, and some of these schools are in the middle of nowhere. And I think it's hard for these young students to really envision a much bigger life outside of where they grew up, right? And I think it's people like you that give them that inspiration, that give them that path to realizing there's so much that I could achieve in this industry. So I think one of the reasons why we wanted to start with you in this podcast is because of your story.
Yeah. And I think too, like as a 17-year-old, I had so many, I mean, up until my 30s, I had so many limiting beliefs of not being good enough. So like for me, I'm not sure I would have taken that leap. I probably would not have taken that leap at 17 years old for that fear of failure. And we see this over and over again. I'm not good enough. What if I fail? And I think to your point, it's like, what's the worst that can happen, right? Like just take action, take big action. And now you're put in a position where you have no choice. You gotta make it happen, right? Is that kind of how you're like?
Yeah. And I think, I've always been really ambitious, but, me going from a small town to Portland, Oregon, enrolling myself into school, doing all the things, I was working a full-time job too at the time. It really gave me that courage to take it to the next level. So when I got done with cosmetology school, I actually wanted to work for a popular salon chain. And I entered every beauty school competition there is. I think, who cares if you don't win? I think it's just all about the experience. You learn from this experience and you bring it on to the next one. So I actually entered a haircutting competition. I won and got approached by a popular salon chain to work at their salon. And so it was so stuck in my head that I was going to work for them. And when I graduated from cosmetology school, I went to go apply and I didn't get hired. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I definitely threw my pity party and was like, all right, I'm not good enough, da, da, da. And then you just kind of build up that courage. No, F that. I can do whatever I want to do and I can do this. And so really, and that's the whole reason why I'm in Arizona, by the way. So the salon chain that I really wanted to work for, there was 5 of them at the time here in Arizona. And, I was like, you know what? My chances are greater to work for the salon chain in Arizona because there's 5 of them. So I just packed up my bags again and moved here.
And you've done it once before, right? So it was no surprise to you what it would be like,
it was
right?
Easier, we'll say. Yeah. Not saying there wasn't, there's always challenges, but it was definitely easier, to make that move. Again, I always think of it like stepping stones, one to the next, and the stepping stones just get bigger.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You just have to say yes, right? You just have to say yes, make it happen. So, okay. So you left your small town, moved when you were 17, got this amazing opportunity, went back to Arizona. When in all of this did you build up this huge following on social and your blog? How did that all happen?
I love telling this story because it was so organic and very random. And I mean, yes, I've always been a very hard worker and very ambitious, but it was actually after I had my daughter Magnolia, who's actually 13 now. So, I was pregnant with my son, who is 10, and I was at home a lot. I was working part-time in the salon, and I've always been that person that wants to educate my clients about the latest tools or techniques or hair products. And my daughter would take these gigantic long naps. And I'm like, I don't want to do laundry. I don't want to clean the house. So that was back when blogging was a huge thing, right? Do you remember that when blogging,
yes.
You would read people's blogs. Instagram wasn't even a thing. So one of my clients actually gave me the idea, why don't you blog about things that you're interested in? And I did it, and I called it Confessions of a Hairstylist because I was confessing from a hairstylist point of view. And then I kept on getting more hits, and I started putting things on Pinterest, and people were emailing me, and it just snowballed into what it is today. I got on YouTube. I started teaching educational classes because people were asking for it. And then Instagram became a thing. And it just it was very organic. And it was because I was bored at home.
That's amazing. And I love that story because, Matt and I just recently started this mantra about 5-6 years ago is what I'm doing right now bringing me closer to my goal? And I think it speaks volumes that you just naturally, in your boredom, right? You already have a child, right? You probably have a ton going on. And in your boredom, rather than tuning out and scrolling through something or watching TV or doing something that's not advancing your career, you chose consciously or subconsciously to do something better or do something with your time that was going to actually move the needle forward for something in your career.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to say too that, if you're not feeling inspired, like I obviously was not feeling inspired to do laundry and all that stuff. I wasn't in an inspirational spot in my life. Do something about it. Get out of that funk, go to an art museum, do something out of your comfort zone. I don't even know how to write. I can barely speak proper grammar, and I started a blog. Like you just got to get out of your comfort zone and find that inspiration somewhere. And if you don't like it in doing a blog or educational videos, who cares? Move on to the next thing. And you might find inspiration and that oomph in that thing.
Well, you strike me as someone who's always being very like present and like in tune with how you're feeling and what's going on from a mindset perspective. How much of that, first of all, when did you really is that something you've always kind of innately like been in tune with, or is this something you started to really practice at a point in your life?
A little bit of both. So I'm a triple Cancer. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but like my zodiac sign is Cancer and we're all emotional feels. So like my sun, moon, rising, all Cancer. So I'm all about the feels, but really, the mindset has always played a part of it, but it really came in handy in the last 6 to 7 years. Like I do yoga every single day, like almost every single day. Positive thinking was difficult for me. So I was definitely like, oh, the world's out to get me. Da, 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 da. Like I had that mindset in high school. I mean, it's embarrassing to say, but like I did. So between yoga, meditation, and then practicing daily affirmations, and not that I want anyone to hack my computer or anything, but like even to get into my computer, my passwords, it's all like, I'm a boss babe or something. It's all positive affirmations. And the more and more you say that, it actually changed the neural pathways in your brain to where you start thinking that and believing that and you become that. So that again has been, something huge and positive in my life, but it's been really the last 6 to 7 years that I've really tuned into that and just keep on exploring that more.
Yeah, I love that too. And we try to teach a lot too, like your beliefs become your behaviors, which then give you your results. And it becomes this constant cycle, right? So if you never can transform your limiting beliefs, you'll stay in that small mindset and then you won't get the results and you'll just continue that cycle, right? But really breaking free from that, doing it anyway, do it scared. And then you get new results. And now you're like, oh, this is cool. What else can I do? So I think that's incredible. It just sounds like even though you just started to do that in the last couple of years, it seems like innately you had that like fire of I'm still moving out of my house. I'm still going to make it happen either way, which is pretty awesome.
Well, I think that's what sets you apart. Listen, like, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, like I think where there's a lot of very capable hairstylists in this country or throughout the world, right? Very, very talented hairstylists. But it really comes down to what are you willing to do? Right? What are you willing to do to get to the next level, to stay there, to continue to grow, to continue to perfect your craft, to continue to build products or build your following? Like everybody's capable, right? We all know people that are capable, but again, you really need to understand like what your goals are and then what are you willing to do? I tell my 10-year-old son who's a football player, like there's a lot of good athletes at 10 years old, but what is setting you apart? What are you doing differently? What are you doing alone? What are you doing when no one's watching? Right. And I think that's what we really need to help really show, especially with the young people in our industry for sure.
Yeah. So what was that stat? I think if you do something 10 minutes a day, don't quote me on this, I'm going to find the real stat. If you do something 10 minutes a day, you'll be better than like 90% of the population out there. So 10 minutes a day, if you just get strong in something for 10 minutes each day, which 10 minutes sounds so simple, you'll be stronger in that area for 90% of the people out there.
Yeah.
So I think it's just so important to just hone in on that. And it doesn't have to be a huge thing. It can be something really, really easy every day. So I also read something.
And it becomes a habit though, too.
Yeah.
Like I literally was thinking about this last night. So I started doing Pilates at 7 p.m. and like, yeah, no big deal. But I already worked a full day. I already did my hot yoga in the morning. And like, I don't want to go to Pilates. Like that's the last thing. But I've been going on the regular now for the last 3 months. And it literally clicked in my head last night. It's like, because I made that a habit. Like, I'm not like, oh, I got to get out of my house. Cause there was times like 3 months ago that I was like, oh, screw that. Like, I don't want to go, but I've created that habit. So practicing something for 10 minutes or 5 minutes, even, it might be daunting at the beginning, but the more and more you do it, you build that habit and it's a regular ritual.
Right.
100%. I read somewhere too that you were talking in the mirror. Is that something? Talk to me about that. Am I off there?
Oh, I say affirmations for sure. Yeah. I mean, we have affirmations on all of our, shameless plug here, on all of our bottles. This one says, I'm not afraid. I embrace courage, success, and self-worth. So like my whole thought is like, if you don't have inspiration to say it to yourself, just read on the back of the bottle.
I love it.
Love it.
Yeah. Like I'm a badass boss,
Yep.
like whatever I'm feeling insecure about that day is usually what I say to myself.
Now I'm so like your drive is phenomenal, right? And I think again, it's what are you willing to do? Where do you think that comes from? Do you think that is it your parents, your mom, your dad, somebody in your life, or again, is it just your personal drive?
I don't know. I feel like it's a trick question because I look at my daughter and then she's like me times 100. Like, but then I look at my son and he's driven, but not the same way as my daughter. I think some people naturally have it and some people might not naturally have it, but it's not saying that you can't work towards that. And I think the people that don't have it just lack the confidence and they're scared of that failure component where failure is your biggest teacher. I mean, I have made a lot of really expensive mistakes with my company, but you know what? That will never happen again. And I would have never learned that in business school. Like people can't be afraid of that failure. Like just dust it off. And then you have to like shift your way of thinking and be like, you know what? That might've sucked, but the positive is X, Y, and Z,
Yep. I think fear is very, very debilitating. I think, especially as a young artist, a young student, Jen and I used to say this all the time when we spoke to students, everything you ever wanted is on the other side of fear, right? Because they don't realize how much it's holding them back. And you're right. I think what makes people uncomfortable, and there's so many distractions and there's so many things that they now have to worry about that we didn't necessarily have to worry about growing up. So I think fear is a real thing for sure.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people just think like poof, Jenny Strebe appeared and all of a sudden she has this product line and she has an awesome following and she has all these amazing things, but like, you don't really see and get to uncover a lot of the struggles that happen there too. So I think that becomes intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I keep on telling you guys all my secrets, but like when I was going through cosmetology school, I lived on ramen and hamburger patties. Like I didn't have money.
That. Yes.
Yep.
I'm vegetarian now, maybe because I was sick of hamburger meat, but like, that's literally what I ate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, did you ever hear the saying, you have to burn the ships? So they say like for like young entrepreneurs, like if there's a way out, you typically don't succeed. Right. And so when Jen and I started Canvas Me, we like, if we would have kept our jobs and had a paycheck coming in, we probably wouldn't have taken off, right?
When things get hard, right? It's easier to take the out.
Take the out. So we quit our jobs. We rented out our house in New Jersey. We moved our 2 little kids to Jen's mom's house in California. We all shared a bedroom, the 4 of us, for 2 years. Like we had no options. Like we couldn't fail. Like we couldn't do it. And so we burnt the ships. We weren't getting paycheck. We needed to make this work. And I think people, underestimate that. Part. Yeah. Where it's like if they give themselves a way out sometimes. And I think it hurts their chance of success for sure.
Yeah. I mean, not everybody.
Absolutely.
Yes, for sure. So talking about Aiir and the beautiful mantras that you have written on those bottles, talk to us about like how that came to life. Like, did you always know one day you were going to have a product line or how did that happen?
No, I was approached by somebody that has a product line, who the company is pretty big in the industry, and they wanted to develop a product line with me. And I was like, no, there's no way. Like, I just thought like, there's no way I could do it. Like, who would buy it, whatever. And I knew it'd have to be different. And I want that to really sink in with people that are listening, because if you're doing anything and you want to stand out, you have to be different. So anyways, I was like, no, 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 no. And I actually was at a hair show, and I got off stage and I was feeling really anxious. And I put my hand in my pocket, and I actually had a piece of amethyst in my pocket, because my mother-in-law is actually a gemologist. So she would always give me these pocket stones, like, okay, if like you feel anxious, like take this piece of amethyst or take this piece of jade. And I just remember I like had this moment where I paused and like took a deep breath, and I was like, ooh, I do feel good. And then I said, okay, like that's what I want to do. If I can have that feeling somehow in hair care, even if it's just a sprinkle of it in a hair care line, why not? So that was really the concept behind it, doing something different. And our tagline's turn your routine into a ritual, meaning put purpose behind everything you do. Ritual just means put purpose behind it. So what are some things that you do in your routine? Like every day, you might drive your car, you might jam out to music. Well, why not listen to a podcast where you might learn a lot of things? Why not take a deep breath? Why not, like put purpose with everything you're doing? And why not in hair care too? So I like to think of it, shampoo away what no longer serves you, and then condition your hair. We have sapphire in our conditioner. Well, we have a sapphire line, hair care line. But sapphire is a stone of inner wisdom and inner strength. And so it's like, wash away that shit that no longer serves you and call in that inner strength and that inner wisdom to get you through your day. And then obviously there's like scientific stuff like the quinoa and black rice that helps strengthen the hair. But anyways, again, putting that purpose behind it, and then have that kind of follow throughout the day or your hair ritual. So
I love that. I love that even for my daughter. Yeah. Like, I mean, yes, for me, but even for like that youth, like I want her to know, she's in middle school, they go into school, they go to their day, and they have to face so many challenges, So I love that, starting your day with just that like clean slate and that feeling of lightness. I think that's beautiful. That's really awesome. Yeah.
So a little plug though, I do have to say, like, you need to I'll send you some hair and energy refresher. That's like our product that we like spread. It's a resetter. So if you're like, you know what, today is like crazy, this meeting was crazy, you just spray it and it gives you that reminder to just reset.
Amazing. Well, it's funny because I've been teaching my daughter like the lavender at night, and so she puts like drops on her pillow. So she's all about it. So this is amazing. I love it. So talk to me about, like, what were your options with bringing this product to life, and like, what were your challenges? How did it all really kind of come to fruition?
Ooh, loaded question. I had a lot of challenges. I mean, one was, I hate saying it, Jen, maybe you would be able to understand, but like being a woman, I would call these labs, and I felt like I wasn't getting taken serious, to be honest with you. There was times where I actually had to have guy friends that aren't even in the industry, like call and like help me talk with some of these labs. So that was challenge number one. The biggest challenge, but it's one of my proudest moments too. See, I'm reframing that, is I actually, this is at the peak of my career. Okay. Like as far as influencing goes, I had so many followers. I had this product line concept. I made a business plan. I had 7 investor meetings, and every single one of them said no. They're like, who's going to be into wellness? Who's going to be into crystals? So on and so forth. So I don't come from money. And I was like, how the hell am I going to get this off the ground? It's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so I definitely threw my little pity party, because I think it's in part important for you to, get it rid, like let it all out, whatever, scream in your pillow, whatever you got to do. And I was like, no, screw this. I'm going to do this anyway. So I called my husband. It was like, what was it? December 17th, 4 or 5, like a week before Christmas. And I'm like, just so you know, I bought all the Christmas presents. I paid our bills, and I'm going to leave our bank account with $67.
Wow.
I'm going to go into production, and we're just going to be able to do it. And he said, okay.
Wow.
And I did it. And we're a multi-million-dollar company now.
Wow. Amazing.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about like burning the ships, right? I mean, it's like insane.
Right.
And you have a family, right? So I know like a lot of people think, oh, but I have kids and I have a family and I have all these things. You still took that action. You just had that vision. You knew you were going to make it happen. And I love when people underestimate me. And I have a feeling that you're in that same camp of like, okay.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and also you just to reiterate, that was the peak of my career. Like I had way more followers than I do to this day. Like brands were scooping me up left and right, you know, and like everyone said no still. So there's still challenges for people that look like they have it all.
Yes. Well, what I love about that, and they say all the time, like no's or closed doors are just redirection. And it's hard to see it in the moment and it's devastating. And yes, I agree. We have to get the pity party out. But I think, in hindsight, that no was the greatest gift to you because now it's
I own my company.
Exactly.
100%. Yep. I think I'm the only woman-owned, hairstylist-owned company fully.
That's incredible. That is amazing.
Yeah.
So,
I think the hardest part, Jen and I, we say it all the time, like you have to trust the journey. Like, and I know it's so cliche, but every day we're like, everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason.
You can control what you can control, and what you can't, you just have to trust that you've put yourself on the right path, and that as long as you're following your purpose, and that's what we go back to with you and your hair care line, everything you're doing is with purpose. And we talk about that all the time. If you're following your dreams and it is with purpose, you will never fail. Bottom line, because you'll keep 100%. Going and going. So I love that story. I think it's awesome.
And I think being tapped into that intuition, I think is really helpful. Like I think if you're somebody that's sitting around scrolling on your phone or watching a lot of TV and not being really purposeful and paying attention, a lot of those things just go by you, right? So I think it's really about having that intention, that mindset to put you in that position in the first place.
Agreed.
So is this how you envisioned your journey? Like, did you packed your bags?
It's way better than I envisioned, to be honest with you.
I love it.
I love it. Like I am having the time of my life. I don't even know what I was envisioning, to be honest with you, but it wasn't this. But
and that's what I think a lot of people struggle with like, what is, even like when you're in school, people are, what are you going to be? What are you going to do? How, everyone acts like you almost have to have it all planned out. And we see this a lot, especially with cosmetology students, even with early professionals, even later on professionals, like what is that full path? And sometimes you don't have to know, you just have to know what the next step is. And as you take that next step, the following step appears and you just keep climbing that ladder. And then all of a sudden you look back and you're like, wow, 10 steps ago, I had no idea this was even in the vision. So I think that's the greatest part of the trust the journey and the just take action, one step leads to the next.
And I think that's good. I think it's okay, especially today. I think there's so many options. Like I've started over my life
a lot of times,
three times. And it's funny because I think Jen's brought that out in me a lot, because I used to be this very safe, like you have to have a paycheck every 2 weeks. That's what my parents taught me. And that's how it was. And I was very safe and I didn't like to explore. And she was the dreamer. And so when we quit our jobs, the first time I quit my job was in my 20s. And then we quit our jobs when we were working at Millennium in our 30s to build Canvas Me. Like I was just like your husband. I was like, okay, like you're a strong, powerful woman and you're unstoppable and you're following your purpose. And I'm going to be a part of that. And so I think that it just, you have to be able to take that into account for what you're doing. And I think now more than ever, I think people have the options to reinvent themselves all the time and continue to grow and be a part of new journeys. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. And you made a good point too. Like you stood behind her. Like that's so important. You need good, solid people that can be on your side. Like anyone that's listening to this, if they have those naysayers, like you gotta, if you really want to succeed, you gotta either figure out a great way to block it out or surround yourself with more positive, encouraging people.
100%.
And I had a hard time with this, Jenny, especially in the beginning, because I felt like a lot of my, your network is your net worth. And that's constantly what my mentor was telling me. And I felt like a lot of my network wanted to keep me in the same, right? Because that's the person they know. And so I had to shed pretty much everybody. And it was kind of like a lonely ride. I mean, I had my husband, thank God, but it was like a really lonely intermediary stage for me. And so what I did was my outlet was audiobooks and people that I wanted to be like, and I wanted to learn from, that I wished were in my life. And then as you start to become that person, suddenly these real people come into your life and fill that bucket. So I know like a lot of people that might be listening might be like, well, you know, I don't have that option. I don't have those people in my life. Well, you can turn to audiobooks, YouTube. I listen to a ton of Tony Robbins, right? So there are outlets that you can take in place of having that physical person in your life right now.
Yeah. Well, I was listening to a podcast this morning, and it's like, you know, you're the sum of the people you hang out with, right? Bottom line. I think this is really important for the younger generation of people that are coming into our industry as well, too. You have to look at who you're with. And I was listening to a podcast and they were saying, like, this guy was asking somebody, you know, how are you doing? How's life? He goes, I'm doing great. I'm the most successful person in my friend group. He's like, well, he's like, you need new friends, right? You never want to be complacent. You never want to be stagnant. And the guys, what do you mean? He's like, you need new friends. And it's the same thing with Jen and I. We're always trying to level up, whether the people we're around, the people we look at, the people we aspire to be, whoever that is. But you have to very carefully choose who you're around and who you're growing with, because they could really set you back. I see it with friends. I see it with family, colleagues. It's really powerful. So
I always say you always want to be B or number 2. Like you don't need to be the first person. Like why? Because you have nowhere to go, and that's boring. You know, like you don't want to be the best at something. So be that B or C or that number 2. That's completely fine.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have something to strive for.
Yep.
So what is, I know we've been kind of talking about it a lot already, but like, what's one thing successful people do that others don't? Like, what can I do right now if I'm listening to this? Like, what can I do right now to try to be more successful tomorrow, you know, or start that path?
I mean, I would say discipline and holding yourself accountable. Like, and I need to hold myself accountable lately because I haven't been writing my goals down as much as I used to, but, you know, write down what you want and start really figuring out how to achieve that. And I think that people don't realize, like, the more and more even if you set little tiny goals, like, you know what, today I'm going to, I don't know, wash my hair. I don't know, just making it up, whatever, or go to the gym, and you do that. And then you build the confidence to do the next goal. So I think, is just being in the right mindset of making yourself be held accountable to, like, jot down goals and then strive to achieve those goals. Nothing feels better than striking something off of your to-do list.
Oh, yes, for sure. I agree.
I think for me, it's healthy habits, right?
Healthy habits, for sure.
I think for so long, it took me to get to a point in my life where I was like, I need to have healthy habits. And, you know, especially now technology is like learning something new every day. Like we should be able to learn something new. You know, I listen to a podcast for 10 minutes every morning when I shower, right? Like it's not taking any additional time, right? It's just forming these healthy habits and learning something new every day and trying to continue to grow. I think that's a big one.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. I think start slow, right? Micro steps, micro stepping, and just kind of doing one small thing at a time. But I do agree with you, Jenny. I think the clarity is what a lot of people lack. I lacked so much clarity as a young professional. I mean, honestly, even as 10 years in, I think I lacked clarity. I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go, who I wanted to be, how much money I wanted to make in a year. I didn't have that clarity. And I think once you really just sit down with yourself and hold yourself accountable and have that clarity, you can back into those goals. You can do one thing that takes you closer to that goal every day. I think that's really the where we need to start, is with that level of clarity, for sure.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So we only have a couple more minutes, but who do you look up to in the industry and then not in the industry?
Or either one.
Or either.
Oh man, there's so many people that I look up to in the industry, to be honest with you. There's nothing better than going to a hair show and getting to see Sam Villa and giving him a big high five and seeing his smile and him asking about my daughter, you know, like he's just so personable.
Genuine.
Genuine. Sonia Dove. I could go on and on. Like just so many people.
Love it.
It's a pretty great industry to be in, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing.
People are incredible. Okay. And then we're going to end on this, because this is our passion to ask everybody and understand the journey. We kind of talked about this, but in a sentence or two, what is your purpose?
What is my purpose? Oh, I should have read the questions before you guys. Man. Hold on. Let me think about this. What is my purpose? And then I have my social media girl recording. What's my purpose? You got to save that. Okay. I think my purpose really is being a leader, being a woman entrepreneur, showcasing that we can do it, and really showcasing that my daughter can succeed with doing anything she wants as long as she puts her mindset to it. So I just love being a positive role model and striving for my goals and achieving them.
I love that. And I think you're such a beacon for those that are in smaller towns that have that excuse of, well, how can I be seen? How can I get in front of these? Like, pick up and do it. You've done it. You're a prime example. It hasn't always been easy, right? Like, there's been some hard times, but this has been super incredible. Yeah. And I'm so grateful for your time. I know you're a busy person, so we really appreciate you hanging out with us. But also, where can we get air if we want? I mean, I'm sorry, I don't know. Where can we get air if we want to get some air? Where do we go?
So it's Aiir with a double I. So Aiir Professional.com. You can pick it up at Salon Centric as well. Okay. But yeah, you can do wholesale, or consumers can buy it from our website or Salon Centric. So there's a couple different other areas, retail outlets, but yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jenny. We're so grateful for you.
You guys, you're amazing.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Making It, the path to beauty industry greatness with Canvas Me. Our mission is to give you a voice, help you find your place of belonging, and empower you to thrive in this beautiful industry. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will fuel your own journey in your career. Head over to canvasme.com and unlock the next chapter of your beauty journey. Create your portfolio, showcase your unique talents, and connect with a community that understands and celebrates your story. Subscribe to Making It for more inspiring stories, and let's continue making it together.